Hey guys, my name's Lena and today's video is going to be organization tips from a 4.0 student. I have been meaning to do videos like this for the longest time because I made one about how I got straight A's a long time ago and you guys loved it so much. So this year I'm doing a 3-part series, how to take good notes, organization tips, and how to be productive. And I just feel like that's all you really need for the semester. So let's go ahead and just jump into the video. First thing I'm going to say is make sure you organize yourself so that you know what's going on. I like to put my classes on my calendar, whether it's on Google Calendar, in my planner, it doesn't matter. Whatever you like better. If you like digital, go for digital. If you like planners, go for like written. For me, I like to create a weekly routine, kind of. So don't laugh at me. I know this is extra and you don't have to do it this way. But when I was in school, I did something like this, which would be my weekly schedule. I would write out the classes that I have, the times I have them, and then I would use a highlighter or, whatever it is that you want to, and I would just highlight areas of certain things that I want to do. I believe green was probably yoga and pink was Zumba or something. Those were potential classes that I could go to, you know what I mean? Like, it was just options, part of my routine that I could go to. Yellow was times when I could study or do homework, and I think orange might have been my teaching assistant's hours for one of my classes. I don't really remember. So if it was like Thursday at 4 p.m., I knew where I was going to be, where it could be, the options I had, and it just kept me a lot more on top of my life. Next thing is have contacts in every single class, whether that is your friends, project mates, just people you don't know. Just make sure you have someone that you could reach out to if you skipped a class, have a question, or just in general, like need to do a project and like need somebody to be on your project team or whatever. It's just nice to have friends. I'm just telling you, because your professor will not always answer their email when they need to. Your TA sometimes is useless. It just depends on the school, depends on the class, depends on the people. So just make sure in the beginning of the semester you just kind of make an effort to make friends and maybe exchange like emails, phone numbers, whatever, Facebook, so that it's easier to contact them. Trust me, they're going to reach out to you just as much as you're going to reach out to them. Next tip, check Rate My Professor. Like, that is so important. It's not only good for choosing professors, but there are people that would literally like write out what you need to do in order to get a good grade. So when I say check Rate My Professor, even if it says like it's the hardest professor ever, whatever, don't take them, sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes people just aren't really good at adapting to different teachers. But when it comes to Rate My Professor, there's a lot of people that write out, hey, for this class, like you really need to make sure you read the chapters. And then they'll say something about like, I got a good grade in this class, or like blah, blah, blah. Or there'll be something like, oh, this is so hard, blah, blah, blah. He would only grade us based on what we like off of the PowerPoints when the chapter said something different. Boom, read that. Remember, don't study too hard into the chapters of the textbook and instead study the notes that he gives you. You know, there's just little tips and tricks that people are putting in there subconsciously, and if you read them, if you pay attention to that, and you remember that for those classes, you're going to be so much more successful than anybody else in that class. Next, learn and write out your syllabus. And I'm not saying like take the syllabus and like freaking write everything. No. I'm saying if you have an assignment due on Tuesday, October 12th, make sure you freaking put it on your calendar on Tuesday, October 12th, okay? Because I cannot tell you, there have been a few times where I'm pre-gaming and ready to leave to go out, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a thing due today. And here I am, drinking wine, trying to do my paper, and we are late now to going out. But at the same time, my paper was probably not the best. So I'm going to tell you honestly right now, do not make that mistake. I should have done better. So I like to write out tests I have, like when it's going to happen. It just makes so much more sense for me. Another thing I really love to do is like if I had exams, for example, here it is. I have a little calendar. Let me turn down the brightness so I can show you. Here it is. I had a few exams right here. So I had them all listed down at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I would just write the classes that I have in black. And then I think I added just different things that I wanted to accomplish. So for example, on this day, I wanted to do chemistry lesson number 1 through 2. Then there would be like over here, it would be like review ECC, review term paper. I don't really know what that means, but it's there. These would just be my kind of like study plans to an extent. And when it comes to study plans, I just really enjoyed making sure that I was on top of things. So whether it is writing that you have an assignment due that day, or even like a week before, just writing a list of things that are due. Doesn't matter. Just write the things that are in your syllabus, in your calendar, in your planner, wherever it is that you're going to freaking check it. Because let me tell you, I have lost the syllabus for one too many classes. I have like not paid attention to things. I didn't read it a second time. How was I supposed to know that in the middle of November we were supposed to have an assignment due? The professor sometimes doesn't even tell you that something's due that week. It's on the syllabus, means that you should know it. Another thing I really love to do is give myself a weekly homework time, especially in college. A time when I could make sure I would do homework was very helpful. For me, usually it was like Sunday afternoon. I would just go to the library and just kind of do my homework. But at the same time, that was a time when like everybody wanted to do it. Everybody wanted to do homework on Sunday. So the library was crowded. So sometimes during the week between certain classes, if I was near the library, I would stop in there. Sometimes if I was near like a cafe on campus, I would stop in there. Like it would just be good days to have an hour or 2 hours to do a quick assignment. It really kept me on top of it instead of just sitting on my phone for like an hour and a half waiting for class to happen. Been there, done that too. All right, another thing for upcoming tests, I like to write out certain topics. I actually like to ask my professors if there's anything that's excluded on the test, if there's any chapters they specifically want us to focus on, if there's just anything that they can literally tell me. I would even like to know what kind of paper the test is printed on, if they have that information. Anyways, I would make things like this where I would type out the class, right, or the exam. I think I had final exams in these 4 classes. So what I would do is write out the different things that I needed to study for that. So for this is general psychology, and there was chapter 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 that needed to be studied. Okay, so I got that, and it would almost be like a checklist, so I can make sure I study each one of those. Then for energy and climate change, I had different sections that was like physics, chemistry, climate, biology, and economics, and each one had lectures, homeworks, notes, and review questions. So I would just go through each one almost as if I was doing them in order. Sometimes I would just go through all the lectures, then to do all the homework, then go through all the review questions, because to me sometimes that helped as well. I like organized it all in one spot so that it could look nice and neat. And then I wrote out the assignments and stuff that I had to do and put them back on this calendar, which is what I was showing you guys earlier. And it's just nice to have everything in one spot to know what your to-do list is and where it fits on your calendar. So highly recommend. If you don't want to write it out, do Google Tasks and put it on your Google Calendar. Those work together. One of my favorite things to say to keep yourself organized is print out your gosh darn notes. Things that professors put online on their websites, on their whatever, Blackboard, whatever systems your school uses, print the stuff out because it's so nice to highlight, to circle, to just be all over the papers and stuff. And when you print it, you have the information readily available to you. Because for me personally, when I read it online on a screen, I don't necessarily absorb it the same way that I have it in front of me. But again, that's also personal preference. Next thing for organizing tips is make sure that you allocate time to every class. Okay? Do not just spend all your time studying for one exam, because if you do that for your hardest exam, you're going to do bad or not as well in the rest. So what I showed you in my little list is I would allocate certain amount of time to each test, to each class for homework. Like psychology was a really easy class for me, so it only took like 1 or 2 days of studying. I literally just read my PowerPoints and I was like, okay, I know this stuff. It's fine. It's easy. But when it came to the physics stuff or like the chemistry, that took a little bit more practice. It took a little bit more work. And in those topics, I had to spend more time. So figure out what exactly you really need that time for. But don't forget about the classes that are easy or ones that you were like, oh, I don't need to study. Because you still need to study, okay? Just not as much as for other classes. Another tip I have is when you are studying and doing certain things for certain classes, separate it by class. I would try not to do, like say I have 2 hours between my classes. If I try to do 3 problems for this class, 3 problems for this class, 3 problems for this class, I would be all over the place mentally. I tried to keep it a focus on one class. So say I had my intro to business and I had a homework assignment, I would try to do that homework assignment between that time. If there was more time, I'd start with that one, and if I was finished with it, I would move on to something else. But don't try to do a little bit of everything when it's different classes, because it breaks your focus. You're trying to remember everything about intro to business, and if you randomly throw in a question on your psych class, it's a completely different topic. It's all over the place. You just broke your focus, and it's not a good thing. You want to stay focused, you want to stay in the zone, and when you are in the zone to study, make sure you maintain that focus. Very wise words. Do not study in your bed unless you want to wake up with your face in your textbook or on your laptop keyboard. Not efficient. Just go to the library or something, or sit at a desk. Another thing is, for organizing, I feel like don't try to do both. Either type your notes or write your notes. Don't try to do both, because some people will type in class and then they'll write it when they get home. If that helps you study, great, but don't feel obligated to do that. I had notes for certain classes that started as me typing, then I would the next day write it out on a notebook, then the next day I would print it out, and I wouldn't type or write anything, honestly, and it was okay. I just stapled it all together. But what I'm saying is, don't do double work. Don't do extra work. And then the last few things is just make sure you're taking efficient notes that you can go back to. There's no point of writing down notes that you can't read and can't figure out, because then at the end of the day, it's I'm not going to read that chicken scratch anyways. I can't tell you how many classes I've written down notes and I'm I don't even know what this even says. So try to take your time to write your notes, and if you don't have enough time to write something, just print the PowerPoint out, or just go back into the textbook and find that chapter and take notes from that chapter. Because sometimes when you're just trying to write everything down, it's to a point where you're losing any of the goods that are coming with it, Color coding is very helpful. I really enjoyed color coding. It really makes a difference. If you're, say, for an example, if stuff that I understand, I'll highlight in green. If something I don't understand at all, I'll highlight in pink. Something that I kind of understand but might need a little bit more explanation, I'll highlight in yellow. And this way, when I'm studying last minute before the test, I'm not reading the stuff that I know really well. Things that I know really well, I don't necessarily need to review. And the last thing I'm going to say, to be organized, is freaking invest in a stapler, paper clips, binders. I don't know what you gotta do, but I do not want to see random pieces of paper just flying around. Always staple things together. I had all my notes and stuff, everything stapled. This was my notes for financial accounting, okay? Everything is together. Everything. In one thing. First, it was in a binder when I was taking the notes. Actually, no, this was a notebook because they're torn out. But then, when I was ready to study them, I ripped them out of my notebook. I stapled them together, so this was a nice on-the-go study guide. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this made sense. I don't know, but I tried my best to kind of explain to you guys what I did. I'll be a little bit more in detail in my How to Be Productive video on how I kind of organize, and I'll also show you guys in my note-taking video a lot more detail on the products, not the products, I guess the apps and certain things that I used and the techniques, but yeah.